Hello, my name is Victor Kadu, and I'm going to be talking about the Republic of China. I'm a student at Northern Virginia Community College, and let's start off. China is one of the Asian countries located on the least part of the Asian continent, and is marginally known for having a large population of close to 1.4 billion people. Now, China is one of the world's largest civilizations. As I mentioned earlier, it has a population of close to 1.4 billion people. But it's not only the largest population, it's one of the oldest populations and groups of people dating back to almost close to the 16th century. Now, China has its different ups and downs, but it has managed to withstand a lot of trials, tribulations to reach where it is today. The capital of China is Beijing, and also the main city, which all of us may know, which is pretty much the coolest and largest, is Shanghai. But the capital, which we're concentrating on right now, is Beijing. The standard language which is spoken in China is Chinese, but it varies in different languages. There are different languages like Mongolian, Tibetan, and many others. And the major group of people who are in the Chinese bases or hometowns are the Han Chinese. Now, the Han Chinese are people who believed in the emperor, who, as you know, from many classic movies from Jackie Chan and all throwback in history, the emperor was the supreme leader of China. Until this very day, there is still believed to be an emperor. But initially, the Han people, who are the largest population basically in China right now, are the leading form. And we have Zhuang and Manchu as well. And there are very many other people holding percentages, 0.2 or 1.5% of the population. The main currency that we have in China is yuan. Now, yuan is accumulative to 2.4 of a US dollar, but it has its hold on the ground in other countries, especially in African bases. Now, I must speak about religion. We cannot go into the depths of religion without talking about what the history was. As I mentioned earlier, the Han people, the largest population who believed in the emperor, and the supreme emperor was the governor of all, happened to be the largest population, holding 52%, because they did not have a specific religion. They believed in a person. And there, as you can see on the chart, we have different other populations of religion. There's Islam, which is 1.8. There's Christianity, which is 18.2. There's Buddhism, which is 21.9, and 0.8 to the others, which are more spiritually and divinely led individually. Now, the Chinese government is led by Xi Jinping. This is the leader of the republic, who per se right now will emulate the emperor in a form, because he governs 100% of China and leads one of the most largest parliaments with over 2,980 members in particular. Now, you may ask me why these people have such a large government. It's because if you can put their government members to the ratio of their population, you'll understand how many districts, how much involvement the government needs to be in charge of the country and keep the country sound. But the Chinese government is predominantly a communist government, meaning everything that they do moves in one direction. There's rarely freedom of trade or rarely freedom of expression, because everything is censored to follow one trail and one line in discipline. Now, when it comes to gifting, the Chinese people are known for their gifts, and it's very evident in the world market when you can notice something was given by a person from China. They're either well-ornamented clothing, as you can see, or a pot, or a cup, or different types of embroideries, but especially the masks. The masks go on way, way earlier during the days of the emperor in the 16th century, and were occasionally used in traditional dances or also on battlefields. But these gifts are emulating culture and emulate that you respect the Chinese culture. And when you offer them as a trinket to portray to people, you will be able to get a form of warm welcoming because they will understand that you understand their culture. Now, as I mentioned earlier, China's population is a great load of 1.4 billion, and it's still growing. But this has been managed over a period of time because the government set rules that a family can have only 2 children. The others were not to be had. Yes, it may seem a little bit critical and a little bit holding on the rights of people, but with a growing population like that and non-fundable resources, it will be an estimate and understandable for why the government would have to make sure that this law was passed. Because once you can't manage resources to people, or people and resources can't meet ends meet, then you have a variant. And this variance really grow over periods of time. And we can see what happens when you have more people and less food in an environment. It becomes wild. Now, many foreign leaders like Barack Obama and George Bush have respected the dress code. Usually these are robes with embroidery on them and always tend to be flowing in patterns or beautiful colors. Now, when you put on a robe to a Chinese cultural meeting or a Chinese meeting, it shows that you're emulating their culture and you respect where they're coming from. And the Chinese people love to see their culture respected with a smile on the face and a nod of respect. And this is a way the dress code is respected, as you can see, emulated through Mr. Barack Obama and President George Bush. China's major exports are majorly mechanical products. Now, mechanical and electrical products are items like cars, refrigerators, phones, and other haptic devices, can even close to computers and digital rhythms. But it's not the only export that they have, but it is the major export that they have. And others include medicals and different other polarizing materials that can be pushed on abroad, from foods to textiles and all other bases of metal. China is a major leading exporter of very many materials and gets a high trade union on all its exports, especially in the African countries and part of the Upper Asian countries. And this is emulated consistently over a period of time. Now, the gender balance and beliefs in China are still rigid, given that there is still a belief that China has women not as equal to men, or women doing acts that are not those that men do. And it's still a stereotype that is clouded over the country. But human rights activists have seen a way to always push forward and push through to make these initiatives work for the women. Now, how to set an appointment? It was rather hard to set an appointment back in the 80s for China, because you'd have to go through a procedure of different systems and talking to different people, and there's a whole language barrier. But China made that easier for us now. It has built an online system, whether business, whether visa, whether you're trying to make an inquiry, there's an online system that allows you to make any appointment from anywhere in the world and still get communicated to. Now, it also made China's way of communication over the world much easier digitalizing all their forms of communication. And this is worldwide spread in every single country. You can access the Chinese government from wherever you are. Now, when it comes to Chinese negotiations, they are very firm and very, very deliberate and do not cut corners. They will always come straightforwardly and tell you what they want, how they want it done, and when they want it done. And they will always look for a 20% margin profit. But this doesn't mean that they are non-negotiable. It just means that they know what they want. And for you to meet their terms, you will need to form a census and have a bit of research done and make your marginal profit meet theirs. But that doesn't stop them from doing business with you. They will always find a way. And at the end of the day, their friendly motions and cutting deals is a principle in which China was built on. And that's why they have one of the best economies and largest economies. Now, usually it's really, for the first time while you're in China, it's best that you learn what the Chinese people are talking about, whether a government official, whether a person on the streets, or a person in the shop. Now, these are the hot topics for the Chinese people. Modern day Hollywood movies are always going to throw them in one direction. K-pop music, industrial innovation, modern science, fashion, and politics are always your go-to for the Chinese conversations. But it also is sensitive to talk about politics in China because you may be affected or at worst arrested if you're not falling in line for the right purpose. But that doesn't stop people from having these conversations. You can have the conversations, but you would need to be a little bit careful. So, what's my pitch? That's easy. Beads. Now, you'd wonder why I'll choose beads. Well, I'll choose beads because China has a strong culture, music, fashion, design, and many other individual reasons. China has the strongest entertainment business that needs all the embroidery work, fashion work, design, and many of their designs are based off of beadwork. Now, the way you would make it work is that your beads would have to be more proficient, more effective, and more glaring, which is very, 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 very achievable. And when it comes to making a profit and making and solving the problems for the Chinese people, you'll be helping them through getting them employed. And the government could tax you over the amount of materials or what you're making as your business. The Chinese government always believes in an equal deal. And bead making does not compromise their culture, it promotes their culture. Bead making does not eliminate their music, it promotes their music. Bead making adds to their fashion, adds to their design, and always can work on an individual basis with anyone and make any adjustments. The clothing market in China has always been one of the nation's core backbones, and growing and growing and growing in the textile and embroidery as well. Now, China's major economic growth in 2020 till this date has been marginally low. We can see that it started at 5% and dropped due to COVID-19 to negative 5%. But over time, China's economy has been leading and growing faster than any other economy during this period and grew a whopping 10% to 6.5, earlier than where it began initially. This just shows how hardworking the economy is and how hardworking the people in the economy are. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that the clothing line is one of the most profitable businesses to enter in China. And as you can see, in 2017, they made 279 million, all the way to 2021, right now, with 359 million in sales, which is a pretty big margin and a good field for the bead makers to go into. Now, China's entertainment is based off of music, dancing, clubbing, and drinking for sure. You may never really find the best way to talk to people or to make them happy without having their basis of fun. And if you have a Chinese person or anyone just native from Asia, there are these promotional things: music, dancing, clubbing, and drinking as a form. There are so many beautiful places to go to in China. The old sites, the new sites, and the pre-middle sites. But one thing you should know is that China is a beautiful place. It has all forms of entries and never hesitates to welcome you. That's why their tourism industry is also a booming sector and also grows on their GDP growth. In conclusion, the Chinese people are the heart and the body of the country. They will always, always, always be there. Their nationalism is what has kept the country running and kept them pushing forward over a period of time. I believe that the Chinese people, with their community habits and any other nations that are willing to take part in their behavior, can really gain marginal profits and always, always make the best for themselves. The end. Thank you very much.